Hello, boys, girls, and those who sexually identify as black cock. I'm Mr. Dapperton, and today we're talking Antifa. So this video was done by freaking Vice, who has 10 million subscribers right now. These guys are imbeciles. They support freaking terrorists. It's insane that they get away with this, but we're gonna debunk their video today. So let's dive right in.
Get the fuck up!
Fear is a part of our tactics.
Yes, you use fear to intimidate people to believing what you believe. It's called terrorism, you fucking nut.
We do want Nazis to be afraid to organize in public.
But you're not battling freaking Nazis, are you? There's only 3,000 Nazis in the United States of America. In a population of 320 million, that's beyond microscopic. The people that you're attacking for no freaking reason whatsoever are Republicans. And you're attacking them simply for disagreeing with you. That is fascism. You are exactly what you claim to be fighting.
It's our job to go out there and say, no, we're not going to allow you to spread these ideas.
No one's job is that. No, you let people say the bad idea so people listen to them, hear that they're stupid, and then not listen to them because they're stupid ideas. What you don't do is freaking hurt people that disagree with you and force them to listen to you. What you're doing is fascism. It's exactly what you claim to be fighting. I mean, listen to how fascist you are. You won't even let people think differently than you. That's how fascist you are. That's insanity.
Attack and make it clear! Fascists are not welcome here!
Politically, I'm an anarcho-communist.
They're communists. Let's put this in perspective. These guys are worse than Nazis themselves. Hitler and Hitler's Holocaust was one of the worst things that has ever happened. It killed 11 million people. Guess what? The freaking communists have killed 100 million people in the 20th century alone. They killed way more people, 10 times more people than the freaking Nazis did. Yes, these guys are worse than the Nazis. And Nazis are the biggest scum most people can think of. So yeah, these guys are absolute scum.
And I'm an anti-fascist, and right now I'm focusing a lot on that anti-fascism. So what I'm doing here is mixing half part water and half part liquid antacid. It makes something called LAW, or liquid antacid and water. You use it in response to pepper spray.
Yeah, it's funny that Vice doesn't show what they really build at home, which is Molotov cocktails, which is trying to burn people alive. It's funny that Vice chooses not to show that part.
We get a lot of accusations that we're doing this for kicks, that we're doing this because we're violent teens who just want to see violence happen.
I consider myself to be someone who's very fed up with seeing protests that accomplish nothing.
I did a lot of marching and holding signs and yelling in the street and getting permits, and it didn't really feel like I was doing enough.
I was aware that, obviously there's plenty of racists in the country, but I didn't realize that they were organized and political and actively out to cause violence.
Okay, I'll tell you what happens. What happens is freaking people come together peacefully. A bunch of Republicans come together peacefully to protest peacefully. And then Antifa always shows up with freaking batons and pepper spray and Molotov cocktails. And they always try to take down these protests and hurt anybody that disagrees with them. They're the ones who are starting shit, not the peaceful freaking protesters that are Republicans. So stop your shit. Stop pretending like you're protecting people from violence. You're the only common violent terrorist group that exists today. Other than ISIS, of course. Anyways, what I'm trying to say is Republicans are not Nazis. And they're not freaking attacking innocent people. You are, though. You are.
Seeing the state of the world and seeing the news and seeing what's going on, seeing how much danger people were in, made me want to get involved.
You didn't get involved because people are in danger. You got involved because people disagreed with you. You said it in the beginning of the freaking show.
The term Antifa is short for anti-fascist, and as many people know, anti-fascism dates back to fascism. So we can see anti-fascists battling Mussolini's black shirts in Italy, standing up to Hitler's Nazis. And today, a lot of anti-fascists draw from the European tradition, and really it's at the front lines of physically confronting fascist and white supremacist organizing in the United States today.
There is no one organization called the Black Bloc. It's dozens, hundreds, thousands of autonomous organizations all across the country and all across the world. Black Bloc or block is just what we wear. It's entirely black, simple, non-identifying clothing.
Similar to what ISIS wears, right? It's weird that terrorists dress like terrorists. It's almost like they're trying to do terrorist acts and not be identified. You know, like common terrorists.
You don't want to get identified by Nazis, or they're going to try and show up to your house, try and contact your employer, beat you up on the street if they get the chance.
Literally, all those things are the things that you do to Republicans for simply disagreeing with you. Not only do you call their employer and try to get them fired, you beat them up on the streets, and sometimes you even throw bricks at them, trying to kill them. And if you're not doing that, you're throwing Molotov cocktails at people. And if you're not doing that, you're throwing explosive fireworks at people, trying to blow off their face or trying to blow off their fingers.
So it's important they can't find out who you are, but it's also important that if you're doing something illegal, if you're trying to punch a Nazi, then you don't want police to be able to identify you.
Again, stop calling them Nazis. They're just simply Republicans. People who simply disagree with you. What I think should happen is if you assault somebody and your face is covered up, that means you're trying to get away with the crime by making yourself hard to identify. That should add to your charge. It should be like resisting arrest or something. It should be like running from the cops, because that's essentially what you're doing. You're trying to resist arrest.
And you don't want police to be able to tell you apart.
Antifa really exploded into the headlines in response to the disruption of the Milo Yiannopoulos event back at UC Berkeley in February, where masked Antifa broke windows and created enough of a disruption for the university to cancel the event. This created a lot of debates around different tactics for opposing the far right and questions around free speech.
Far right? Yeah. Try to make them seem extreme. Milo is a basic bitch Republican.
Street violence is actually one of the last resorts for anti-fascists.
Bullshit! Freaking fighting is the only reason they even show up to peaceful protests held by the Republicans. What you mean to say is, oh, instead of just violence, we also dox people too, which we also claimed that Republicans do to us a couple of minutes ago in this video. But yeah, we dox people as well, is what he wants to say. And then he reports people to their employers saying they're Nazis just for being Republican, just for supporting the President of the United States.
The first line of defense is just finding out who the local Nazis are. People will post online with Nazi flags and post about the marginalized groups they want to kill.
Okay, I've actually listened to the alt-right before. What they want to do is the worst of them, it's not a lot of them, but the worst of them want to deport people that aren't white. None of them want to kill non-whites. None of them. So that differentiates all the alt-right from the Nazis, because the Nazis wanted to kill people who weren't white. See the difference? Deporting, killing, there's a difference there. A huge difference. And you obviously can't tell the difference because you're a moron.
And when we find those posts, we save them, we send them to employers, finding ways to disrupt their organizing online, track them down and figure out where they live and try and make sure that they don't feel comfortable.
Oh my God, you guys are pieces of shit. And what cracks me up the most is in the beginning of this, you said that's what the Nazis do to you. No, this is obviously what you do to them, and they never do it to you, and the Nazis don't even exist. Here's what happened. You don't like people disagreeing with you, so you slander them Nazis. You simply call them Nazis so you can paint them as a target, an easy target that you can do whatever you want. Nobody cares if you do bad shit to Nazis. So as long as you call them Nazis, you could hurt them as much as you want. You could throw bricks at them, throw explosive friggin' fireworks at them and blow their face off, blow their fingers off. You could call their employer and get them fired. You could do all these terrible terrorist and fascist things to them for simply disagreeing with you. That's why you slander them Nazis.
There has been an increase in neo-Nazi organizing since the Trump campaign started, and they've absolutely been more active.
Man, it doesn't even occur to these people that somebody could support Trump and not be racist. It doesn't even occur to them, okay? Everybody that's right-wing is a Nazi to them.
The Jeremy Christian killings, the killings in Charlottesville, those are not the acts of individual people. Those are the acts of a political movement.
Republicans try to have a peaceful freaking protest in Charlottesville, and then you guys showed up with freaking batons and explosive fireworks and Molotov cocktails, and you started attacking people. A guy from Redneck Revolt, who's part of Antifa, actually showed up with an AR-15, and he was redirecting traffic. Then he found somebody, a Republican, somebody with the Trump hat, I think, and pointed a gun at him. And then the guy in the car drove the car as fast as he could and accidentally hit a lady, killing her. Antifa and Redneck Revolt got somebody killed. It wasn't the Republicans having a peaceful protest. It happened because you guys showed up and started shit.
Personally, I'm Jewish, I'm a trans woman, and I'm queer. And those are related.
Oh my God, nobody gives a flying shit. I don't give a shit if you sexually identify as Dragonkin. It doesn't make you special to me.
Knowing we have someone in the White House who calls white supremacists a side that has some good people.
He wasn't talking about white supremacists, you freaking idiot. You just think everybody's a white supremacist.
Is really frightening. I do feel vulnerable and I do feel scared every day, but that's why I'm in the block.
When you are a queer person or a disabled person or a person of color, you don't get to really step back and say, I don't want to be politically active, because your life and your existence is constantly in dispute.
Oh my God, these guys are living in a fantasy where they're constantly in threat, and they're like some sort of warrior or something.
To suit up in block and go out there with your comrades provides me a feeling of safety that I wouldn't otherwise have.
I hope you get arrested, bitch.
It's important that we don't give the state a monopoly on violence. The police are part of the executive branch. The police serve Trump, who's a fascist.
Told you they thought he was a fascist. I freaking told you. They literally think all right-wingers are fascists, when the only fascists around town are them.
Police violence is no more justified than anti-fascist violence.
Except, you know, the police use violence in self-defense, and you're using it in offense. And violence in offense is never okay. Man, this doesn't feel like Antifa. I mean, they haven't attacked a trash can or a mailbox yet. Oh, there we go.
The most violent people at any protest are the police. The police are the ones there with batons, beating people up, throwing them to the ground, pepper spraying them.
LOL, dude, that's freaking bullshit. I've seen Antifa pepper spray people in the face in offense all the time. You know, at least the police do it in defense. Antifa does it in offense. And I've also seen them use batons too. Here's some footage of Antifa hitting a guy with the baton while he's already knocked down on the floor, then getting knocked out after trying to hit somebody else with a baton.
I've gone home with bruises. I've had friends go home with broken arms.
Yeah, because you guys attack people for disagreeing with you. for simply disagreeing with you. You deserve broken arms. You deserve bruises.
Lodged eyeballs, brain trauma.
A nonviolent resistance really works when it can leverage the public opinion to pressure oppressive regimes or leaders to change what they're doing. The question is, when it's fascism, when there is no room for public opinion to influence the decisions made by government, made by leaders, is that a viable option?
Almost all
Yeah, screw that road sign up. Show it who's boss.
people agree with violence at some point. Why do you support the violence of American soldiers and American police and not the violence of American citizens to stop Nazis?
Simply because they're not Nazis and you're not in threat. The worst thing that they'll do is legally deport people that are not white. That is literally the worst thing that they could possibly do. And they're not even trying to do that, okay? Because the alt-right isn't in power. It's the Republicans who are in power. The alt-right are a very, very small group of people that have nothing to do with the Republicans.
I actually personally really dislike violence. I'm not comfortable with it at all, as I don't think anyone should be. So for me, it's about minimizing violence. So if that means occasionally being violent against the people perpetrating violence, I accept that.
Okay, what is the worst thing, most violent thing that Trump has enacted in office? I can't think of anything. Now think of the worst thing that a freaking Antifa person done. Hitting people with batons while they're on the ground. I've even seen them pepper spray 6-year-olds in the face. Throwing bike locks at people, splitting their head wide open. You are not minimalizing violence. You are the violence.
It's Pepe's become kind of a symbol.
Richard Spencer, who coined the term alt-right and whose website publishes articles calling for genocide.
Since when is deportation genocide? I mean, how can you even mix those two up?
After an Antifa protester punched him in the face, there's videos of him talking about how he's afraid to go out and they might need to get security and they don't know if they can afford it, and how if they can't have a public movement, they can't win.
We need to take very seriously the notion that anti-fascists aren't just going to scream at us, they're going to physically attack us.
And that's the point. If we go out and punch Nazis in the face, they won't appear in public, and like they themselves admit, they can't win.
Dude, the alt-right is extremely small. They're never going to win. See, the only reason why you think they're going to win is because you're conflating Republicans with the alt-right, stating that they're the same thing. In your eyes, the alt-right are already in office. You think Trump is alt-right when he's not. Okay? That's the retardation that we're dealing with here.
Punch a Nazi in the face!
This has been going on for a long time with Antifa. Yes. Antifa, they've been terrorizing people, intimidating people, and when they can get away with it, violently attacking people. These are felons. This is terroristic. This is fascistic.
Fascists aren't people who shut down speech. Fascists are people who want to commit genocide and ethnic cleansing.
No, fascists are literally people that are trying to use violence to control people. That's you, bud. And nobody's trying to commit genocide. Where do you get this shit? You're so freaking dramatic.
Fascists are people who are willing to scapegoat marginalized groups and destroy their lives and their health and safety in order to accomplish political goals. That's a fascist. Antifa are not fascists.
We're fighting against people that have been walking into black churches and killing people.
Don't even try this shit where you find one right-winger who committed a mass shooting and pretend that they're all right-wingers commit mass shootings. Because guess what? Literally all friggin' mass shooters, except for that one, are all left-wing. All of them are left-wingers. Every mass shooting you can think of, they're all been left-wingers, dude. So don't even give me this shit.
That's violent. That's what the real violence is. And so to fight against that doesn't seem violent to me. That seems like meeting people where we're at to defend ourselves.
When the tragedy in Charlottesville occurred, when Heather Heyer was murdered, the mainstream media acted like the presence of hundreds of armed neo-Nazis was a huge surprise. But for those anti-fascists who had been monitoring the far right, were well aware of what this danger was.
Charlottesville was a really important turning point because it was the first time that there was no choice but for the media to show what was happening in a way that made the public understand who we are as anti-fascists.
We have replaced you!
They saved our lives, actually. We would have been completely crushed like cockroaches if it were not for the anarchists and the anti-fascists, because the police had pulled back and just allowing fellow citizens to go at each other.
Oh my God, don't give me this shit, okay? They just went there with their little tiki torches that they got from Walmart or whatever, and they were going to march to the frickin' statue and just have their peaceful protest. But Antifa showed up because they couldn't have people having a peaceful protest because they're frickin' fascists. They don't like free speech, so they started attacking people. And because of that, people died.
There was at least about a week in America where anti-fascists were considered to be people that you could respect.
Oh my God, again, they were just going to have a peaceful protest. No one was going to get hurt if you just let them have their peaceful protest. But you guys were like, oh, a peaceful protest about something we disagree with. We can't have that. So you guys showed up with freaking batons and guns and scared and hurt people and got people killed.
A lot of my friends are involved in the same type of activism. And so I don't have to hide it from them. But from my family, absolutely, I can't get into the details of what I'm doing. And I do lead a double life.
It makes it hard to stay close to people in your life because there's so many things that I do that I can't tell people about. Where were you last week? I can't share that information. It means that you end up forced into situations where you can't always be honest with people. My community is other anti-fascist people. These are the people who helped me through some of my toughest struggles. And so I am able to feel like I have family.
Just admit it. You hurt people because you're lonely. That's really what it comes down to if you break it all apart.
There's a feeling of obligation and doing what's necessary in order to make the world a little less of a scary place.
After we got the Trump march shut down, they haven't come back into Philadelphia. This works. The Trump election has invigorated and empowered white supremacists and neo-Nazis, but it's also invigorated and empowered the left. We are on the cusp of some change, and what change that is depends on who gets involved and who organizes.
People, we are the people! Mighty, mighty people! Mighty, mighty people!
So that was Vice supporting a terrorist organization. If you guys like this episode, be sure to smash that like button, subscribe button, bell button. Also, consider being a patron, man. Patreon link is in the description box. Also, if you just want to do a PayPal donation, that's cool too, man. I'll catch you on the next episode.